Okay, good evening, everyone, and welcome to this quick webinar on data analytics framework. So, data analytics over the last few years has become extremely important, and it is impacting the finance function in a different way as well. So, today we as finance professionals are expected to not only be just great at data analysis, but also go beyond data analytics and partner with the business. So that's where this data analytics framework comes into play. So we'll try and understand some of the basics of data analytics, which are the different levels, and how FP&A can leverage data analytics in their FP&A roles as well. Okay. Also, if you want to just start with a quick introduction.
Yeah, thanks, Dhawal. Quick intro about us. Hi, my name is Asif Masani, and I've been working in finance and FP&A for over a decade now, and worked across different industries from Big Four to banking to pharma to edtech. And most recently, I was the FP&A lead for APAC and India for one of the edtech companies before we started FP&A Professionals Institute. And it has been over 3 years now since we've been conducting these webinars and sessions on FP&A. So that's a little bit about me, and always happy to partner with Dhawal on these webinars.
Awesome. So my name is, I'm a qualified chartered accountant. Over the last 16 years, I've served as a CFO and a finance leader in India and in the Middle East across various multinationals. I've been an active online instructor and I've trained more than 5,000 professionals on various topics like FP&A, finance business partnering, CFO career coaching, leadership, and much more. I've also had the privilege of building a strong CFO community of more than 200 CFOs across the Middle East. I've gone in as a speaker, as a panelist, frequently been called as a speaker for major CFO events in the Middle East. This has been our journey as Institute. We have trained more than 5,000 professionals on our various programs, and we'll also talk a little bit about our flagship program, which is the Certified Global FP&A Professional Program later in the day. Okay, so here are some quick statistics that set the context for today's webinar. 40% of the finance role will either be new or significantly reshaped due to technology. And we are seeing that development. A lot of technology is impacting various roles, especially rule-based roles. So that is why you need to start understanding and taking the data analytics and business partnering roles very seriously. 3 out of 5 organizations are using data analytics to drive business innovation. So of late, we have seen that companies are very serious about data analytics. They want to use data the right way to take decisions, whether it is a pricing decision or a product recommendation or any updates that they want to do in their business. So these two are important data points for us to be glued to today's webinar and learn till the very end what we are trying to share with you today. Now, what is the difference between the classic management accounting and the modern FP&A function, right? So management accounting has existed probably since last 3 or 4 decades, right? And it is now being slowly taken over by modern FP&A functions. So the primary focus of management accounting was all about controlling and reporting, right? So you control the budgets, you report, you publish your reports. But modern FP&A looks at decision support, collaborating with the business, predicting the next quarter, predicting the next 6 months, and see how it looks like. Processes, again, management accounting was rigid in terms of their processes. Static budgets, as opposed to modern FP&A, is all about agility, responding to the markets much faster, rolling forecasts, dynamic budgets. All of these things are part of modern FP&A function. In terms of tool, again, management accounting relied traditionally on Excel and ERPs, whereas in the modern FP&A function, a lot of cloud-based tools, different AI analytics platforms, planning platforms, integrated business planning platforms, all of those are possible for us to elevate our planning to a different level. In terms of skill sets, management accounting still focused on a lot of recording and reporting, which means it was still compliance focused and accounting focused to produce the right kind of reports, whereas modern FP&A is focusing on data analytics techniques, business partnering, and how you collaborate with the business to execute certain tasks. So that is what is the difference between management accounting and modern FP&A function. So what are we going to cover today? Over the next 45 minutes or so, I would highly encourage all of you to get rid of all the distractions. What we'll be talking about is trying to understand the difference between data analysis versus data analytics. Often people confuse them and they use the term interchangeably, but they are not the same. So we'll try and understand the difference. Why data analytics is important? How is it going to impact your FP&A role? A quick 4-step data analytics framework according to different levels of maturity, data analytics are used by companies in different levels. We'll look at the four-step data analytics framework, and then finally we'll end with some Q&A as well. Okay. So let's start with the first step, that is understanding the difference between data analysis and data analytics. Now, many people confuse data analysis and data analytics. Sometimes people use this interchangeably, but it is not, right? So what is the difference? Let's try and understand. In terms of pure definition, right? Data analysis is about inspecting, cleaning, and interpreting raw data to derive insightful insights. So basically, inspecting, cleaning the data to converting into meaningful insights. That comes under data analysis. Okay, so you are analyzing the data, interpreting it, and deriving insights out of it. Whereas data analytics is a much broader field. It talks about the techniques not only to extract the data, but it also to predict the outcome, future outcomes, preparing dashboards, right? Different kind of tools to mine large chunks of data. That is what is data analytics. Primary focus is on summarizing the historical data, trying to analyze the historical past, whereas in data analytics, we're trying to go a step further to predict how our future outcome is going to look like. So it's a slightly forward-looking concept compared to data analysis. In terms of tools, we are using Excel, SQL, and basic business intelligence tools, whereas data analytics uses advanced Excel tools like Python or different machine learning frameworks and other tools as well. In terms of complexity, data analysis is fairly simpler compared to data analytics, where we're talking about digging into large sets of data and summarizing them to derive meaningful insights, whereas data analytics is about providing actionable recommendations, predictive outcomes based on the historical patterns that have been analyzed. Okay, so that is what is data analytics. So data analytics is a broader field, a much broader field compared to just data analysis. So data analysis is one of the activities in the whole field of data analytics. So I hope this helps you clarify and you're able to appreciate the difference between data analysis and data analytics. So with that context in mind, now let's start to understand more about data analytics and why understanding data analytics is extremely important. So let's look at this and then through the data analytics framework, and then look at some of the next steps. Asif?
Yeah, you want me to continue or you want me to share my,
You can share the screen, Asif. You can share the
share
screen.
my screen? Okay, is it visible now?
Yes.
Okay. So before we get into the data analytics framework, which is coming up next, it is important to understand why this framework that we are going to study today is important. Okay. So it is very common that you will see different types of problems in different business units, different parts of different functions. Okay, and not every problem can be addressed by the same level of analysis or same type of analysis. Okay, so the framework will help you, the data analytics framework will help you to identify different types of problem and then be able to correlate which type of analysis will help you solve different types of problems. Okay, so that is why one of the reasons why the data analytics framework is important. Okay, what you will see these days is senior leadership is not just looking at numbers or not just looking at your Excel reports or your PowerPoints. They are looking for your help or your assistance in making business decisions. So they are looking towards you as finance leaders who can help them decide on various business decisions. So that is another reason why this framework is helpful, and this will help you enable you to help the business leaders take decisions. Okay. Also, a lot of times we've seen that the finance professionals are very good at analysis, but they're not able to communicate the same, or they're not able to get action on those analysis from the business stakeholders. Okay, so the analytics framework will also help you to improve how do you communicate the analysis in a way that is effective, and then that is leading to some action and results into some positive outcome for the business. Okay, so improved communication is also one of the reasons why this framework is important. Okay, overall, we are looking to move from merely reporting numbers to becoming advisors. Okay, so that is what the objective of this data analytics framework is. Okay, so with that, we will get into the framework. I'll take a quick pause and then we'll go to the data analytics framework. Okay, so we will understand this through example of a e-commerce company. So let us assume that there is a e-commerce company which has a website, and you are using that e-commerce website for doing online shopping. Okay, so let us assume there's a Shopify website, and you are using that website to buy and uh, make purchases of online, uh, I would say online articles and all online materials. Okay, so let's take example of an e-commerce company. Okay, now there are four different sections or four different parts of the data analytics framework. We'll one, talk about each of them one by one, starting from the descriptive analytics. Okay, so this is one of the most common places where finance people do analysis, where they are looking at the historical data, which is what happened in the past, and which is basically looking at the last 12 months data or last 36 months of data, and trying to identify some sort of trend or some sort of pattern in that historical data, which can help you in making decisions. Okay, so that is called something as descriptive analytics, where you're looking at the historical data, or you are answering the question what happened in the past, and that is what a lot of finance people also spend their time doing. Okay, so that is the first stage in the data analytics framework, which is the descriptive analytics, where you are answering the question what happened in the past, and you're looking at the historical data. It could be last 12 months data, it could be last 5 years data, but you're looking at the data and identifying or figuring out some pattern, or you're looking at the historical data to identify some trend or some pattern correlation in the data. Okay, so that is what the descriptive analytics is. Okay, now in that example of the e-commerce company, if you're looking at just give me one moment. Okay, if you're looking at the historical data for say last 12 months of the revenues, okay, and you look at this chart, okay, you might notice a couple of things here, right? Okay, so while you're looking at the revenue data, it starts at 1.5 million in January, and it goes up to 3.5 million or 4 million in December, right? So that is how the revenues are moving from January to December. Okay, if you just notice, there are a couple of things that might come up in your observation looking at the historical data. You might see that the lowest point is April, which is where the revenue dips below 1.5 million, and that is probably the lowest point in the month of April. Okay, so this is how one of the examples where you're looking at the historical 12 months data and trying to identify some pattern or some trend in the data to be able to help the business in improving what could be done in the next month or the next quarter. Okay, so now, for example, if you identified the April sales has gone down, okay, you will then come to the second stage. So that was descriptive analytics, where you've identified and you've looked at the historical data and you've identified a pattern or a trend. Okay, now the second stage comes where you are doing something we call as diagnostic analytics. Okay, so you are now figuring out why did that happen, or why did that April sales dip happened, right? What was the reason for the April revenues going down? Okay, so now when you ask that question, that means you are moving to the next stage of doing analysis, which is from descriptive to now diagnostic, and you're trying to understand the root cause of a event that has occurred in the past, and you're trying to figure out why did that particular event happen. In our example, it was the dip in the April sales. Okay, now that is what the diagnostic analytics is. There are various techniques in which you by using which you can do this analysis. Okay, some of the common techniques are you do variance analysis, you use different frameworks like the ERP framework, which we cover exhaustively in the CDFPA module. Then there are techniques, there's a technique called as 5 eye analysis, where you ask questions one by one. You keep asking the question why till the time you reach to the root cause of the analytics, to the root cause of the variance. Okay, so there are different techniques in which where you can use and you can do the diagnostic analysis. Okay, so that is the second step, which is the diagnostic analysis. And typically, you are looking for the insight at this stage. You're looking to move from information, which was descriptive analytics, to something called as insight. Okay, insight meaning that you're looking for something that the business did not know, and by communicating that insight or that information that business did not know, that will help the business in making some decision which will improve the either improve the revenues or reduce the cost. Okay, so that is you're moving from descriptive to diagnostics or from historical data to insights. Okay, so that is the second stage in the analytics continuum. We talked about descriptive and now we talked about diagnostic. Okay, so continuing with the same example where we looked at the example of the e-commerce company. Okay, and we had identified the April sales were down. Okay, so when you're doing diagnostic analytics, you will drill down into the April performance further and try to figure out what is driving the April performance down. Okay, so this is the sales revenue chart that we looked at in the previous slide. Okay, so now you'll ask why did the April revenue drop? Okay, and you will look at the drivers that are driving the revenue. Okay, so for example, the revenue is driven by three important drivers, which is the website visitors. Okay, the conversion rate of website visitors converting into paid customers. Okay, and the average order value. So these are the three factors that are driving your sales numbers. Okay, so first step is that you identify those drivers while you're doing the diagnostic analysis, and then figure out which of those drivers is causing the dip in April. Okay, in this example, we're looking at the April performance. Okay, so if you look at the charts, you could easily tell, right? Your conversion rates haven't dropped in April compared to the previous month. It's in fact going at the same level or slightly better. Okay. Also, your average order value hasn't dropped in April, so it has been at the same level since Jan, Feb, March. Okay, so in fact, it is at similar level in the last 3 months. Okay, and you could clearly see that the drop in the sales is directly coming from the website traffic visiting dropped. Okay, so the because less number of people came on the website, that was one of the key drivers of your revenues going down. Okay. Now, this is what you do in diagnostic analysis is you figure out the root cause of your variance. Okay. Here you're looking at the drop in revenues for April. Okay. Now, this is still not the root cause. Now you've identified the website visitors is causing that. Then you will move one step further and you'll ask, okay, why is the website visitors down in April? Okay. And you might again find out another set of answers and you continue to dig deeper, drill down, ask the question why till the time you reach the root cause or the business reason. Okay, so this is typically what happens in the diagnostic analysis phase. Okay, so okay, once you look at the website visitors and you reach out to the team who's responsible for the digital marketing and making sure the website traffic is uh, on right track, they will tell you the root cause and maybe you'll figure out that by talking to the team in the business or talking to the marketing team. Okay, so in this case, it was because there was lower marketing spend in the month of April. That's why the website visitors were dropped. Okay, so this is one example of the diagnostic analysis. Okay, now after diagnostic analysis, we move to predictive analytics. Okay, so what happens in predictive analytics is you're looking for something called as the foresight, which is you're trying to answer the question what will happen in the next month or the next quarter. So in the first step in the descriptive, you looked at the historical data. In the diagnostic, you asked the question why and why did that happen. And in the third step, you are now predicting or you're now forecasting in FP&A terms. You're forecasting the next quarter or the next month for your business and trying to give them a map of what could happen in the next few months or next few in the next quarter. Okay, so that is what the predictive analytics is. Okay, in our example, let's assume that you have 3 quarters of historical data, Q1 to Q3, and now you are forecasting the Q4 for your business. Okay, you're responsible for doing the forecast, for creating the forecast for the quarter 4 of the business. Okay, and you do that looking at the historical data, looking at the seasonality, looking at the projections of the different teams, right? The marketing team's projections, the sales team projection, based on different data points and different assumptions, you figure out a way to forecast the Q4 revenues for the company. Okay, so typically you have your historical data, which is what we saw in the previous slide as well. You have your data till September. Okay, now you see that the revenues is again 1.5 million starting and then it's going up and down. And you have to project the next 3 months or the last 3 months of the year. And you will look at the historical data for the last 3 years. You will look at how did the January or how did the November, December or the October, November, December quarter do in the last 3 years. And based on that, you will figure out some pattern, some trend, some seasonality and you will be doing the projection for the next quarter. Okay. So in this case, what we realized while we were doing the forecast is that your sales will go up by 20% in November and December due to the holiday shopping. Usually that happens every year. Okay. So you are assuming that trend will continue from the previous years, and you are, even if the marketing is constant, you don't spend extra efforts on marketing, the sales usually tend to go up in Q4. Okay, so that was the predictive analytics. So we covered descriptive, diagnostic, and predictive. And the final one in the continuum or in the framework is the prescriptive analytics. Okay, so now after looking at what happened in the past and why did that happen and what will happen in the next month or the next quarter, your business is asking you, what can we do now? Okay, how can we achieve our target for Q4, or how can we achieve certain things that we want to achieve as a business? Okay, so that is where the prescriptive analytics comes in, where you are going one step beyond the predictive analytics and you are giving some actionable insights, or you're giving some actionable items to the business to execute so that they can achieve their target, or they can achieve whatever they are looking to achieve in the next particular quarter or the next particular month. Okay, so let's say continue your example. Okay, so your prescriptive analytics is, you've now done the descriptive analytics, diagnostic analytics, and then you've created the forecast for the next quarter. Okay, now the CEO wants to know what actions should be taken by the company to maximize sales during the holiday season, which is the October, November, December period. Okay. Okay, so you do your descriptive diagnostic and the predictive analytics, which is step one, two, three. And based on that analysis, you come up with your set of, I would say, recommendations. Okay, and you say that, okay, based on whatever I've done in step one, two, three, looking at the historical data, doing the diagnostic analytics, and doing the forecast for the next quarter. Okay, this is what based on my experience and based on my understanding of the business, okay, this is what I think you should do to maximize the revenues in Q4. Okay, that is what prescriptive analytics is. Okay, for example, you are recommending you should increase the marketing spend by 15% to boost November and December. Okay, we should do some special promotions, or we should do some promotions in December to capture more customers. Okay, we should improve the website performance to make sure that the website doesn't break and it is able to handle the additional traffic. Okay, so this is what you do in prescriptive analytics, where you're giving the prescription like a doctor, or you like somebody as a consultant, where you're telling the business to do one, two, three. Okay, step number one, two, three, and this will help you achieve your objective. In our case, the objective was maximizing the revenues in the quarter four. Okay, so that is all we right. That is the entire example I wanted to cover from descriptive analytics. Okay, we try to understand how their sales have been performing the past year or the past 3 years. Okay, we figured out some trends and some seasonality from that data doing the descriptive analytics. Then we did diagnostic analysis, which is variance analysis, a 5 technique, the DERB framework. You figure out the reasons for the drop, or you figure out reasons for any particular instance that you notice during your analysis. Okay, so you try to get to the root cause of the problem there, which is diagnostic. In predictive, you are forecasting, or you're giving the business the forecast for the next quarter or the next 6 months or the next month, and you're trying to help them uh, visualize how the sales or the expenses will look in the next particular period. Okay, and finally, we talked about prescriptive, where you are suggesting or you're prescribing certain actions to the business to be able to help them make decisions and achieve their objectives. This is the quick framework, which is descriptive, diagnostic, predictive, and prescriptive, which we covered in the last 15 minutes or so. Okay. Now, in FP&A, we use different methods to do different stages of analytics, right? From descriptive, diagnostic, predictive, and prescriptive. Okay. For example, in descriptive analytics, what you typically use are methods like to do descriptive analytics, you typically do a lot of data massaging, data mining. You look at large sets of data and you try to first make sure that the quality of the data is good. You try to clean the data, massage the data, and then once that is done, you can use uh, uh, Excel or Power BI to create visualizations or charts or summaries or dashboards. Okay. Diagnostic, some of the tools that FP&A teams use is correlation analysis, root cause analysis, we already discussed, hypothesis testing, drilling down, drilling up. Those are some of the ways in which FP&A team does the diagnostic analysis. Okay, and variance analysis is one of the common functions that FP&A team usually performs to be able to understand that why, or understand the reason between the business reason between the actual number and the, say, the budget number or the forecast number. Okay, predictive analytics, there are techniques like time series forecasting, AI and machine learning models, regression analysis. So you have different models, statistical models and driver based models where you do predictive or the forecasting for the next particular month or the next particular quarter. Okay, so you have different methods for different stages of the analytics framework, and typically FP&A teams spend a lot of time on these during their, I would say, while they are doing these analysis. Okay, so that was on the data analytics framework. With that, I will give it back to Dhawal. So let us go back to the slides. Let me stop sharing my screen.
Okay, I'm sharing my screen. Okay. So we saw the four levels in the data analytics framework. So what we have done is we have spoken to dozens of CFOs, and there are five critical skill sets that CFOs today are looking for in their finance function. Okay, so one is your core FP&A concepts. That is your budgeting, forecasting, different kind of variance analysis, commentaries, margin analysis. All of that is core FP&A concepts. Concepts like fixed costs, variable costs, discretionary spends, all of these things are your core FP&A concepts. And then comes financial modeling. Financial modeling, not investment banking related, nothing to do with valuation or leverage buyouts and all. It is to do with core concepts or core FP&A modeling, which is all about building revenue models, cost models, scenario planning, sensitivity analysis. All of that is financial modeling for FP&A. Then comes data storytelling. Yes, you will be analyzing a lot of data, but this data will have to be communicated in the right format to the business teams because they don't understand 10,000 lines of Excel sheet like how you do, right? So that is where your data storytelling best practices come into play, where you understand the audience and tailor certain ways or tailor certain presentations to tell the right kind of data story. And then comes business partnering. It's all about your ability to correlate or other collaborate with the business teams, uh, improve your business acumen, guide the business teams on various aspects, help them take decisions. That is what is business partnering. So it has two components mainly. One is your business acumen, and the other one is your ability to build strong cross-functional relationships. And then finally, last but not the least, leveraging the technological and AI developments that are happening in the finance field so that you can be far more effective, far more efficient, much quicker and faster than what you are right now, right? So these are the five core skill sets that CFOs today are looking for in their finance function. And there are umpteen number of surveys to support this. This is another survey conducted by CXOverse, which is a community of more than 2,000 plus CFOs. 79% of the CFOs say that it is generally difficult to find the right kind of FP&A talent. Okay, and no matter what kind of a CFO you talk to, they will generally complain that their FP&A team is not right enough, or they are not able to collaborate with the business teams in the right way. Okay, and I've always seen this complaint many times. Again, this is one of the data points that suggests that. Okay. What we have done at FPI is that over the last couple of years, we have built a solid certification program. It's called the CGFPA program, Certified Global FP&A Professional Program. It is a global FP&A certification built and delivered directly by CFOs and FP&A leaders and not by university professors or teachers. Okay. Then it has 10 comprehensive modules, which we'll talk about it in a while. Everything through real life looking like experiential sessions, real life looking like data, real life situations. We've tried to cover everything case study style. And then CGFPA program is also taken by students from more than 25 countries so far. So you'll be part of a global alumni network. You'll get sessions with a personalized career coach to tailor your career requirements and then plan your next career moves. You'll also get placement support in terms of your resume review, your LinkedIn profile review, mock interview preparations. Many of our students sometimes get case studies in the FP&A interviews, and they have to turn it around in a day or two. So all of those things are, support that we provide. Again, I'm being very careful to use my words. It's a placement support and it's not a placement guarantee. We'll try everything in our power to help you get placed in the right kind of FP&A role. Access to monthly Q&A sessions where you'll have direct access to the faculty, where you can ask any questions that you have. Guest speaker sessions, globally recognized FP&A experts, tool providers, technology experts, digital transformation experts come to FPI every month for delivering guest lectures. You would have access to all of that. Every month, we try and conduct 1 or 2 guest lectures where we bring these top speakers. And all of this happens through very seamless access to an online LMS. All the live sessions are conducted on Zoom platform. You can take it from the comfort of your home. The CGFPA program, which is a 6-month program, it's a live coaching program where every Saturday we meet for 2 hours. It has 10 comprehensive modules. I'll let Asif cover the first 5 modules on the left, and then I'll talk about the modules on the right.
So let me start with the introduction to FP&A module where we cover the basics of FP&A function. How does the FP&A function look like? And what are the different roles and responsibilities of the FP&A team? We cover in detail the calendar, what happens during week 1, week 2, week 3, week 4. Using examples and case studies. Also, we have some group discussions and role plays in that particular module. Okay, so that is what we typically cover in the introduction to FP&A portion. Then we move on to the core modules of budgeting and forecasting. Let me talk about the budgeting module first. So what happens in the budgeting is we cover different methods and techniques of doing the budget, right from top down, bottom up, zero based, incremental, and we do that through examples and case studies. So we have, I would say, more than 10 case studies and examples where we cover different sections or the parts of the budget, right from the revenue budget to the production and the cost of goods sold budget to marketing budget to headcount and salaries budget. So you use real life looking data through capstone projects, and you learn how to get from the revenue budget to the end budget presentation step by step. So that is what typically is covered in the budgeting part. Forecasting is again very similar, where we have examples, case studies. We cover different techniques of forecasting. We uh, cover the statistical methods of doing forecasting, the driver-based methods of doing forecasting. Then there are nowadays we use AI tools or LLMs to be able to create forecasts as well. So all of that is covered in the forecasting module. So that's a little bit about the budgeting and the forecasting module. The next one is the AI for finance, which is a very recent. I would not say recent. It has been now 1.5 years since we have that. So although it has been very fast changing module where we keep on making improvements every month as and when we see the changes in the AI tools. So everything that you do in Excel or manually nowadays can be done using AI tools. Okay, so we try to cover all those use cases where we have done the same thing in the other modules using Excel files or PowerPoint, and we show that how do you do the same capital budgeting projection, or how do you do the same revenue modeling, or how you do the same uh, creation of dashboard, which earlier you used to do using Excel and Power BI using AI tools. Okay, so that is a very popular module and ever vastly right evolving module at this point. Management reporting is another core module of FP&A where we cover different types of management reports. We cover different management reporting frameworks, including balance scorecards, KPIs, um, OKRs. Okay, so different management reporting frameworks are covered. Topics like variance analysis, profitability analysis, recharges and allocations, using case studies examples are also covered in this module. Okay, then that brings me to the financial modeling module, which is one of my favorite modules, where we teach you how do you apply financial modeling principles and best practices to use cases that are your day-to-day use cases in your FP&A role. So how do you do revenue models using best practices in financial modeling? How do you create a scenario, or how do you build a sensitivity analysis model, or how do you build a 13-week cash flow forecast? So all of these topics are covered, which is basically helping you to apply the financial modeling best practices into FP&A use cases. We have identified about 12 to 13 use cases which are uh, very commonly used in FP&A, and we try to teach you all of that using best practices in financial modeling. So I'll take a pause here. I'm covered a lot. I will let Dhawal cover the rest of the modules, which is on the right side.
Thank you. So one thing that is common in all your FP&A roles is that you will be dealing with large chunks of data, whether it is financial data or operational data. So you need to know your way to navigate through that large sets of data. So that is where in the data analytics module, we cover all the fundamentals of Power BI, Power Query, and SQL. at least we take you to a level where you are comfortable using these tools in your FP&A roles. We don't claim to make you an expert in these tools. It takes a lot of time, but at least we take you to a level where you are comfortable using these powerful tools like Power Query, Power BI, and SQL. And then in financial analysis, it is not just about ratio analysis. A CFO requires different kind of analysis to manage the business internally, right? So this requires different kind of margin analysis, scenarios, profitability analysis, different kind of feasibility studies. So all of that is covered in the financial analysis modules. And then storytelling and presentations, like I mentioned, it is equally important how you communicate your data to the business teams, because end of the day, you want to influence the business teams to take prudent financial decisions, right? So that is where your storytelling best practices, understanding the audience, what to say in a presentation, what not to say, how to tailor your presentation to a senior professional, how to tailor your presentation to a junior professional. All of those things are covered in the storytelling and presentation module. And then comes strategy. As and when you become senior in the organization, your senior management will start talking a certain strategic language. And at that point in time, you cannot use the strategic words very loosely. So that is where we cover all the popular strategic tools covered in most B schools, and then also show you how FP&A can contribute to these strategic tools and decisions in the company. So that is where the strategy module comes in. And then comes finally the business partnering. It's all about business acumen and your ability to build strong cross-functional relationships. Business partnering is not just theory. Asif and I are covering all those case studies where we have actually collaborated with business teams, whether it could be business development, HR, IT teams, different kind of operations teams within the company, supply chain, all of these collaborations that we have done in our careers. We're practically explaining you how that collaboration can be executed. So that is what is business partnering. So all in all, 10 solid modules in the CGFPA program. Don't just think about this as a course or a certification. It is 20 years of our blood, sweat, and tears packed into a 6-month certification program. Yeah, so that's the CGFPA program for you. The eligibility criteria for the CGFPA program is very simple. You need to either have a bachelor's degree or a global equivalent in finance, accounting, or business. Or alternatively, you may have any of your professional qualifications like CA, CMA, CPA, ACCA, or any equivalent accounting qualification of your respective country. We don't claim to be a substitute for these accounting qualifications. In fact, we are a supplement to these accounting qualifications, because what we are trying to teach in FP&A are not taught in these accounting qualifications. Okay. And we are also CPD UK accredited. You can claim continuing credits in your accounting qualifications as well. Now, how will you get the CGFPA award? 3 things. One is we meet every Saturday live from 8 p.m. to 10 p.m. IST for the classes. You need to attend at least 50% of the classes live. Then somewhere in month 5 or so, you will be submitting a capstone project within the stipulated deadline. It's an end-to-end budget presentation for a CFO. Don't worry, all the guidance will be given to you on how to do that. Once you submit the capstone project, then you'll be eligible for the final examination. And that's the third step. Final examination is a 2 hours proctored 100 marks examination, 50 questions, multiple choice question style. And this examination will be conducted usually on the weekend. And then once you clear that examination with at least 50% passing marks, you're awarded the CGFPA program from FP&A Professionals Institute. Again, we are an independent body at this point in time. We are not affiliated with any other accounting bodies in the world at this point in time. Okay. Now, the ROI for a valuable course like this, I leave it to your imagination. The course fee investment in this program is USD 1795. There is also an option to pay over 5 installments. Then the course duration will be for 6 months, where we meet every Saturday live for just 2 hours. I know this is designed for busy executives, so we just meet live for 2 hours. And apart from that, at least about 60 to 90 minutes of your own time investment is required, because we will share some pre-reading materials. We'll ask you to go through a case study and then come to the classroom, so that we want to maximize the time in the classroom for case studies, group discussions, and activities. Okay. The next cohort is starting on 10th of Jan 2026. That is when the orientation is, 10th of Jan 2026. The date that you need to remember is 31st December 2025. That is when the final round of early bird applications close. You need to make sure that you complete your applications before 31st of December 2025 to be eligible for the early bird offer. What I would recommend is that applications is completely free of cost. What I would definitely recommend is that please fill in the applications. The link and the brochure is shared in the chat box. Asif has already put it in the chat box. Make sure that you fill in the application Let our academic counselors evaluate your profile. They'll come to you with the eligibility. They'll come to you with the offers that are ongoing. You may also ask them for demo lectures. You can also ask them for our alumni phone numbers or anything that you want to do to kind of get your comfort on the program. There have been tons and tons of testimonials. Many of them have been able to land FP&A roles. Many of them have been able to implement a lot of frameworks that they learned in their existing profiles. There have been tons and tons of testimonials. You can reach out to any of them and they'll tell you how the CGA program has been valuable for them. Okay. So FPNAjobs.com is our new initiative where we have started this portal where we want to bring in all the top FP&A talent and recruiters on one single platform. So I highly recommend you to create a detailed profile on FPNAjobs.com right away. It's completely free of cost. Hopefully, your next opportunity will come from FPNAjobs.com. The date, again, just reiterating the date that you need to remember, it is 31st of December 2025. That is when all the early bird applications will close, all the early bird offers will go away. Make sure that you fill in the applications and let our academic counselors reach out to you. Okay. I hope you found today's webinar helpful. So thank you so much for coming today to this webinar. Asif and I are always available on LinkedIn. Feel free to reach out to us if you have any questions. Hopefully, we'll see you in one of our programs. Have a great week ahead.
Thank you so much. Thank you, everybody.